I started very early drawing mostly Disney art. I looked at characters like Mickey Mouse and Goofy, and I remember liking a lot the Jungle Book art, and I think all of those things got me into drawing. Also, cartoons, many cartoons, some animes, Japanese animation that that was at that time, and all that got me interested in drawing. My background as an artist is that I started as an illustrator for advertising agencies and for newspapers and magazines, and I were an illustrator for newspapers for about, I don't know, 5 years or something, and then I became a freelance illustrator. After my first 2 years, I started freelancing, and then I stopped working in newspapers and started doing freelance work instead. One of the things that I really wanted to do was to draw comic books, and about 12 years ago I was at it a lot, and I recently came back to that, and hopefully will do more professional work for that. I realized I wanted to be, or that I am an artist, if I can say I'm an artist. And when I was very little, I remember as a baby, I have this image of me with some crayons drawing on the wall, and I also have a few memories of me being very little, maybe 4 years old or something, making drawings, and that's it. Uh, what do I find visually stimulating right now? A lot of things. I like a lot of kinds of art. I there aren't a lot of things that I don't like. I like caricature, and I like comic book art, concept art. I actually love a lot how the guys who make concept art for the movies and character design, the work they do, even if a lot of that work isn't visually visible for people to see. It is there, and it's stunning. And caricature, I've always liked realistic caricature. I like a lot of things. I liked Mort Drucker's art in math, and all a lot of those guys who worked in math were like my first introductions to caricature, and Sebastian Kruger's work for Rolling Stone. Uh, I remember seeing those a long time ago, and was blown away by that kind of art. And recently I started getting into caricature again. I really hadn't um, done any serious caricature work until about 3 years ago. There I started practicing more and more. It was just sometimes that I did caricatures before, and but seeing how that digital era has come to the caricature world and impacted with realistic caricature, I was blown away by that stuff and started getting into it. And I love traditional stuff. Unfortunately, um, the way companies work right now sometimes do not allow it. But I would say that's what I find stimulating right now. My workflow from start to finish is, I would say, it's very different, because I'm mostly a self-taught artist. I have had to force myself into developing processes for everything, because when I was a teenager, I would get a picture from a magazine of a rock star or something, and I would start drawing the eyes, and that's not the way to go about it. But I would do that, and sometimes the final piece was, and I would draw it with a pen, the ones that you use at school, and on the notebook. So sometimes the final piece wasn't very good, and as time goes by, you understand you have to go through the basics, and it has helped me a lot to go back to basics and start, with a basic drawing and all that. But um, with caricature, with digital caricature, I have had to start working, on a very good sketch. Uh, I'm a very, I'm not very patient, so that was hurtful to my art. I have had to teach myself to be patient and work on the sketch and work on the sketch, and then when the sketch is ready, then go to colors. Maybe sometimes go to grayscale first, and then depending on the piece, sometimes I do it in black and white. If it's very good in black and white, I leave it that way. If not, I go to color, and sometimes I start with the color. I have I have experimented with just going with big brushes and drawing the whole thing without a line sketch, and I like that, but it doesn't every work every time for me. So sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't do it. But I try to basically do what everybody does: start with a sketch, then block the shapes in, and if I start with the color, or if not, then finish, or go like 60 or 70% in grayscale, and then finish the rest in colors. I would say I really don't know that, because I like a lot of stuff. Sometimes I'm looking at art in the internet, and I see a digital picture, and I say I really want to do something like that, and then I see something in watercolors, and I say I really want to do something like that. And sometimes I see colored pencils, and I can say I don't like colored pencils as much, but I think, well, maybe sometime I'll do something like that, and they look great, but maybe I don't feel like doing something like that. But I like ink, you know, like pen, ink, and brushes, like comic book art, because I would say that I've spent the most time preparing to be a comic book artist. I stopped that, and then I came back recently, but but I practiced it a lot a long time ago. I wouldn't say I'm a professional, but well, I'm not a great artist like like maybe like John Buscema or something like that, but I'm learning. But my preferred medium, I love digital art, and but it depends. I love pencil, and I would say if I had to pick one, I would say oils, and I'm not very experienced with them. I've done very few oil pieces, but I think it's like for me like the maximum thing you can do. Uh, Again, most of the time, but not always. My favorite websites, I would say, I started going a few years ago into concept art. No, before that, I went into CG Society, and then into conceptart.org, and maybe a few other sites that I really don't recall. But those two were the ones that I would usually go back to and look at stuff that would blew me away. But I didn't find like a very warm atmosphere there. I got into Facebook, and I actually saw a site called Videography. I don't know if it's pronounced that way, but I think you get my meaning. And I saw that contest, and it's something that got me being very interested, because I saw some caricatures that I loved, and took me back when the time where I would see mad artists from the magazine Mad, and some other caricature artists, and and I remember how websites like conceptart.org do some kinds of challenges, and I actually got into Facebook, and I said, well, I will like I will look for artists and make friends with them. So I started going a lot into Facebook, and I found it with Bern Ertl. I cannot pronounce his name right, but I found it a caricature group that maybe a few will know. There is Caricaturama, and it went from there, because I found that actually caricature artists are not only talented but very cool people. I found that less less resistance to meet people. Everyone, well, almost everyone is very friendly, and they will talk to you. They will give you advice. They will ask you for advice. They will show you things, and it got me started on caricature, because I always liked it, but didn't really practice it. So I said, well, I like this, and it's something that maybe I can add to my portfolio. But I have done caricature in the past, but not like this. I think that was like another level, looking at artists like Paul Moyes and Kurt Jones, Jason Saylor, and then I found a lot of other guys in Caricaturama that blew me away, like my friend Bernd and Didier Lubat, Patrick Dea. I don't know, there are a lot of great artists in there, and it pushed me to be better, really.